Imagine this. You're sitting on a park bench in Atlanta, sipping water under the shade of the magnolias. Families are laughing. Kids are running. The world feels calm, safe, almost perfect. And then you notice them. 3 cops, watching you, whispering, smirking, moving closer. They don't see your smile. They don't see the years you've spent serving your country in the U.S. Navy. All they see is your skin. And to them, that alone is reason enough. But what they don't know is this. The woman they're about to harass has walked through war zones, survived battles they couldn't last a minute in, and carries a strength they'll never understand. Stay with me until the end, because when her Navy past collides with their hate, this park will never be the same. And don't forget, subscribe, because stories like this deserve to be told. Her name was Serena Cole. At 35, Serena had the kind of posture that made people notice her without her saying a word. Shoulders back, chin lifted slightly, eyes calm but watchful. She wasn't dressed to stand out, just jeans, a white t-shirt, and worn-in sneakers. But her presence carried a quiet authority, one earned through years of discipline and survival. She wasn't in Piedmont Park to cause trouble. She wasn't there for confrontation. She came for one simple thing: peace. The Navy had taken her to places where peace didn't exist. Dusty towns in Afghanistan, choppy seas in the Middle East, chaotic bases where every sound could be the last thing you heard. She had lived through mortar fire, ambushes, nights where she clutched her weapon under stars. And though she survived it all, she never came back the same. The park was her therapy. The laughter of children, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of joggers' feet. It reminded her that there was still softness in the world, that she didn't always have to be on guard. But peace is fragile, and Serena's peace was about to be shattered. They moved like shadows through park. Sergeant Kane led the way, his jaw clenched, his eyes sharp and cold. He had been with the force long enough to know how to bend the rules without breaking them, or at least without getting caught. Behind him trailed Officer Mills, stocky and eager to impress, and Officer Daniels, younger, quieter, his uncertainty hidden behind the badge. The 3 men weren't on duty. They weren't here to protect. They were prowling, watching, waiting for someone they decided didn't belong. And then they saw her. Kane slowed. His lips twisted into a grin. "Look at that," he muttered. Mills squinted. "Just a woman on a bench." "Not just a woman," Kane said. "Look where she's sitting. Look how she's sitting. Like she owns the place." Daniels frowned. She's not doing anything wrong." But Kane wasn't listening. His mind was already set. "Hey!" Kane's voice cut across the laughter and chatter of the park like a gunshot. Serena lifted her head slowly, water bottle still in her hand. She studied the man approaching her. Tall, heavy-set, authority dripping off him like sweat. His partners followed, one smirking, the other hesitant. "Yes, officer?" she asked, her voice calm. "You got ID on you?" Kane demanded. Serena blinked. "Why would I need ID to sit on a bench?" Kane smirked. "Because I asked. Now show it." The words hung heavy in the air. Around them, joggers slowed. A couple walking their dog stopped, their eyes narrowing. A man on a bike pulled out his phone. The atmosphere shifted, silent tension filling the space between Serena and the 3 officers. Serena set her water bottle down carefully. She wasn't afraid, but she was tired of this dance she had seen too many times. "I'm not doing anything wrong," she said firmly, "and you know that." Her mind flickered back to her first week of Navy boot camp, the drill sergeant towering above her, screaming in her face. Her legs burned from endless push-ups. Her arms shook from carrying gear twice her size. "You think the world owes you something, Cole?" the sergeant barked. "The world doesn't care about you. The world will try to break you, and you will stand. You will fight, or you will fail." Serena had chosen to fight. That lesson lived inside her now as Kane took another step forward. By now, half a dozen people had stopped to watch. Phones raised, eyebrows furrowed. "Why you filming?" Kane snapped at a bystander. "Mind your business." But nobody lowered their phones. They knew what these encounters could turn into. They had seen too many names turned into hashtags. Serena stood slowly, her spine straight, her gaze unflinching. "I don't consent to this harassment," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the park. "I am a U.S. citizen in a public space. You have no cause." Mills muttered, "She's got a mouth." Daniels shifted uncomfortably, but Kane's jaw tightened. He wasn't backing down. He stepped closer, invading her personal space, the smell of coffee and arrogance radiating off him. His hand hovered near his holster, not yet pulling, but close enough to send a message. "Lady, don't make me ask again." Serena's heartbeat slowed. Her training kicked in. She studied his stance, the twitch of his fingers, the heat in his eyes. She knew men like him, bullies who mistook fear for respect. But she wasn't afraid. She remembered crouching behind a wall in Afghanistan, bullets pinging off the concrete, her squad leader whispering, "Wait for it, wait." She had wanted to run, to fire blindly, to do anything to break the tension. But patience had saved her life. Timing had saved the mission. She learned then, not every threat deserved panic. Some deserved calculation. That memory steadied her now. "Maybe we should just let it go," Daniel said quietly. His voice cracked slightly. Kane snapped his head around. "What did you say?" Daniel swallowed. "She's not doing anything wrong. People are watching. Maybe we should." "Shut up," Kane hissed. But Serena had caught it, the crack in their unity, the hesitation in his voice. She turned, locking eyes with Daniel's. "You know this is wrong," she said, her voice low but strong. "You don't have to follow him." Daniels looked away, shame flickering across his face. Serena faced Kane again, lifting her chin. Her voice rang out, steady as a drumbeat. "My name is Serena Cole. I served 10 years in the United States Navy. I've stood on battlefields you couldn't survive 5 minutes in. And I will not," she paused, her eyes burning into his, "be hunted in my own city." The crowd gasped. A ripple of applause broke through. Kane froze, caught off guard. He hadn't expected resistance. Not like this. But his pride couldn't let him back down. He lunged forward suddenly, gripping her wrist tight, twisting hard. The crowd screamed. Phones zoomed in. A woman shouted, "Let her go!" Serena's body reacted faster than thought. Years of training came alive. She twisted sharply, breaking free of his grip with practiced precision. She stepped back, dropping into a defensive stance, balanced, ready. Gasps erupted. Someone shouted, "She knows what she's doing." Kane's face turned red. "That's assault," he bellowed. Serena's eyes narrowed. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "No, that's survival." The park crackled with tension. Serena standing firm. Kane boiling with rage. The crowd, a wall of witnesses recording every second. And then sirens, louder this time. More cops rushing in. The crowd shouted warnings. "They'll try to cover it up. Stay strong." Serena didn't move, didn't blink. She locked eyes with Kane, her voice low, cold, unshakable. "You picked the wrong woman today." And as the sirens grew closer, the entire park held its breath, because what started as harassment was about to explode into a battle for truth. The wail of sirens grew louder, bouncing off the magnolias and brick paths of Piedmont Park. Red and blue lights began to flicker at the edges of the trees. The crowd, already thick around a confrontation, pressed closer. Phones were raised high. Voices shouted. Mothers pulled children away while others yelled encouragement. And in the middle of it all, Serena stood tall, steady, her wrists sore but free, her eyes locked on Kane, who glared at her like a predator denied its prey. "She didn't do anything," someone yelled. "Leave her alone," another cried. "She served this country," shouted a man waving his phone. Kane's face flushed red. "Shut them up," he snarled at Mills and Daniels. But neither moved. The crowd was too many, too loud, too awake. Mills muttered under his breath, "Sarge, this is out of hand." "Out of hand?" Kane spat. "You think I'm backing down to her?" "To them." Daniels shifted uncomfortably. His eyes flicked to Serena, then to the cameras. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Serena's chest rose and fell in slow, controlled breaths. Years of training whispered through her veins. She knew the signs, the twitch in Kane's jaw, the shake in Mills' hands, the hesitation in Daniel's eyes. She wasn't just standing on a bench in Atlanta anymore. She was back in the Navy, back in the tense silence before battle. Flashback, Afghanistan, 2011. She crouched behind a low wall. Her squad spread thin across an open road. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and the enemy was closing in. "Steady," her commanding officer whispered. "Don't let them see fear. Fear is what they're looking for." Serena had steadied. She had waited. She had led. And they had survived. That memory wrapped around her now like armor. Police cruisers screeched to a halt at the park entrance. Doors flung open. 6 more officers poured out, boots pounding against the pavement. The crowd gasped. Phones rose higher. "Here they come," someone cried. Kane smirked. His reinforcements were here. Now he'd show her. Now he'd crush this woman who dared to defy him. But Serena didn't flinch. The captain of the backup squad marched forward, his voice sharp. "What's going on here?" Kane pointed at Serena. "This woman assaulted me. Put her in cuffs." The crowd erupted. "Liar. We saw everything." "You grabbed her first." The captain hesitated, his eyes flicking between Serena, calm, still unflinching in the furious crowd. Serena spoke clearly, her voice cutting through the chaos. "My name is Serena Cole. I served 10 years in the U.S. Navy. I was sitting on a bench when these officers decided I didn't belong. They harassed me. He grabbed me." She lifted her wrist, red with marks. "I defended myself." Gasps rippled. Phones zoomed in. The captain's jaw tightened. "We'll sort this out downtown." But the crowd shouted louder. "No, we're not letting her go alone. We're witnesses." The standoff thickened. Serena's eyes glazed for a moment, her mind flashing back to another standoff. Iraq, 2013. A small village. Children trapped inside a burning house. Locals screaming. Her squad leader hesitated, waiting for orders. But Serena didn't wait. She ran. She smashed through the smoke, her lungs burning, her body screaming. She carried 2 children out, then went back for more. That day, she had learned something vital when others hesitated. She had the power to act. She blinked back to the present, fire in her eyes. Kane leaned close, his voice a hiss only she could hear. You think your Navy story scares me? Out here, I'm the law. Serena met his gaze without flinching. Her voice was steel. Out here, the law is watching you. She tilted her chin toward the crowd, the phones, the cameras. The world was watching. For the first time, Kane faltered. Let her speak. Don't let them silence her. Justice for Serena. The chants grew louder, rolling across the park like thunder. Daniel swallowed hard, his hands trembling. He whispered, Sarge, maybe we should stand down. Kane snapped, Shup. She needs to be taught a lesson. But Serena's eyes narrowed. Her voice dropped low, sharp as a blade. The only lesson today is yours. Her stance shifted, slight, subtle, but trained. Her feet planted shoulder width apart. Her arms loose but ready. Her breathing calm. Kane saw it and sneered. What are you gonna do? Fight the whole department. Serena didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her body spoke louder than words. Flashback on the ship years ago during hand-to-hand combat training. Her instructor's voice. Your enemy will always underestimate you. Let them, then remind them who you are. Her enemy was underestimating her right now. Suddenly, Daniel stepped forward. His voice shook, but was loud. She's telling the truth. I saw it. Kane grabbed her first. He provoked her. The crowd gasped. Cheers erupted. Tell it, officer. Say it louder. Kane's face twisted in rage. You little traitor. But Daniels didn't back down. No, I won't be silent. Not this time. The balance shifted. The crowd roared. Serena's eyes softened slightly. A small crack of hope. Kane lunged again, shoving Daniels back, his fury boiling over. He reached for Serena, his hand twitching toward his belt. Gasps filled the park. The crowd screamed, but Serena was ready. She stepped aside, fluid, precise. Kane stumbled forward, off balance. In that split second, Serena's Navy training surged. She moved behind him, one arm locking his wrist, the other bracing his shoulder. The crowd erupted. Phones captured everything. Kane thrashed, Let me go. But Serena's voice was calm, cold. I warned you. More officers rushed in, shouting. The captain's voice barked, Stand down. The crowd screamed louder. Kane struggled in Serena's grip, his face red, spit flying as he shouted. Mills froze. Daniel stood tall. The tension snapped like a wire pulled too tight. And then one officer drew his weapon. The crowd screamed. The air turned electric. Serena's grip tightened. And in that heartbeat, the entire city seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The pistol glinted under the Atlanta sun. The officer's hands trembled as he leveled it toward Serena. The crowd screamed, parents yanking children back, voices shouting, Put it down! Don't shoot. Serena's grip on Kane tightened. She could feel his muscles jerking, his rage boiling. His voice was a snarl, spitting words through clenched teeth. Do it. Shoot her. But Serena's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Calm, commanding, steady, lower the weapon. Now! The officer froze. His training said one thing. His sergeant's order said another. But the crowd, the phones, the witnesses, the chants said something louder. Don't you dare shoot her. We've got this on camera. You'll pay if you fire. The chant swelled into a wall of sound. It wasn't just Serena standing against the barrel of that gun. It was the entire park. Hundreds of voices, every lens recording. The officer's hand shook harder. Sweat trickled down his temple. He looked at Kane, then at Serena, then at the crowd. Serena didn't blink. Think carefully. You pull that trigger, and you won't just kill me. You'll kill your career, your freedom, your soul. Her words sliced into the silence. And slowly his arm lowered. The gun dipped, then dropped to the side. The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping, screaming relief. You coward! Kane spat at the officer, thrashing in Serena's grip. You let her win. You let them win. Serena leaned close to his ear, her voice icy. No, you lost the second you touched me. She released him abruptly. Kane stumbled forward, catching himself on his knees. He spun around, his face purple with rage. But when he met Serena's eyes, something flickered. For the first time, it wasn't arrogance. It was fear. Serena's mind flashed again, this time to Norfolk Naval Base, 2015, standing at attention, uniform crisp, as she received the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal. Her commander's voice rang out. Petty Officer Cole showed extraordinary bravery under fire. Calm in chaos, courage in fear. She is the standard. That medal didn't sit in a glass case at home. It sat in her heart, and it glowed now, as if reminding her, you've been through worse. Stand tall. The commotion had grown too large to ignore. News vans pulled up outside the park gates. Reporters spilled out, microphones in hand, cameras rolling. Breaking news out of Atlanta. An altercation in Piedmont Park between police and a black Navy veteran. The media's presence poured fuel on the fire. The crowd shouted louder. The cops shifted nervously, aware the story was no longer theirs to control. And Serena? She stood taller. She knew how battles were won. Control the narrative, control the outcome. Daniel stepped forward, his voice shaking but determined. The truth is simple. She was sitting on a bench. Kane provoked her. He grabbed her. She defended herself. Everything else is lies. The crowd roared approval. Say it louder. Tell the truth, officer. Kane's head snapped toward him, eyes blazing. You're finished, Daniels. You hear me? Finished. But Daniels didn't flinch. For the first time, he wasn't under Kane's shadow. He was under Serena's light. The backup captain rubbed his forehead, overwhelmed. This is spiraling out of control, he muttered. Serena's voice cut in. No, Captain, this is accountability. The only thing out of control is your sergeant's abuse of power. The crowd erupted. The cameras zoomed closer. The captain hesitated, sweat dripping down his temple. He had two choices. Side with Kane and sink, or side with Serena and survive. But Kane wasn't finished. He pushed himself to his feet, rage twisting his features. You all think she's some kind of hero? She's a thug, just like the rest. Gasps rippled. The crowd booed. Phones zoomed closer. Maya, Serena's Navy sister-in-arms, wasn't here. But Serena didn't need anyone else to fight this battle. Her chin lifted. My uniform was never a thug's uniform, she said, her voice sharp as glass. My service wasn't a thug service. I bled for this country. And what did you bleed for, Kane? Your ego. The crowd erupted in cheers so loud the air shook. Kane's lips curled into a snarl, but his eyes betrayed him. He was losing. Serena's mind drifted again. To Arlington. Rows of white headstones. The folded flag in her hands. The echo of rifles firing in salute. She remembered standing tall, saluting her fallen comrades. She remembered the vow she made that day. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. I will live to honor them. And today, facing Kane, she felt their presence like a shield. She was not alone. Reporters shouted questions. Miss Cole, will you press charges? Did Sergeant Kane assault you? Is this racially motivated harassment? Serena faced the cameras, her voice steady. This isn't just about me. This is about every person who's been told they don't belong. Every person who's been hunted instead of protected. And today I refuse to bow. The crowd roared. The chant rose again, louder than ever. Justice for Serena. Justice for Serena. Unable to bear it, Kane lunged at her again, his fist raised. But Serena didn't move. She pivoted, sidestepped, and with one clean motion, she dropped him flat onto the grass. The crowd went wild. Reporters scrambled. Phones captured every angle. Kane groaned, humiliated, pinned to the earth he thought he owned. Serena's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "You will not touch me again." The cheer that followed was deafening. The captain's face paled. He had no choice now. He gestured to the nearest officer. "Cuff him." Gasps erupted. Kane's head whipped around. "What? You're arresting me?" "Me? Yes," the captain said firmly. "You've disgraced the badge." The crowd erupted in cheers, applause, tears. Serena exhaled slowly, her shoulders dropping. For the first time that day, she felt the weight lift slightly. But the war wasn't over. Not yet. As Kane was dragged toward the cruisers, still screaming, still spitting, Serena stood tall, her hands steady at her sides. The crowd swarmed closer, reporters shouting questions, microphones in her face. And then a breaking news alert buzzed across dozens of phones at once. City Council calls emergency session over Piedmont Park incident. Federal investigators en route. The crowd gasped. The media swarmed tighter. Serena's eyes narrowed because she realized this was bigger than one park, bigger than Kane. This was about to shake the entire city. The night after the Piedmont Park incident, Atlanta didn't sleep. News anchors replayed the footage again and again. Serena breaking free. Kane grabbing her. The crowd chanting. The takedown heard around the city. The video went viral, spreading across the country. Headlines screamed. Navy veteran stands tall against racist cop. Atlanta Park showdown sparks federal probe. Cameras say what could have been another tragedy. The city council convened an emergency session. The mayor called for accountability. Federal investigators were dispatched. And Serena? She sat quietly in her apartment, staring at her folded Navy uniform in the closet. She didn't want fame. She didn't want headlines. She wanted justice. 3 months later, the courthouse was packed. Protesters outside held signs. Justice for Serena. End police abuse. Protect our veterans. Inside, every seat was filled. Activists, journalists, families, officers, even veterans in uniform. Kane sat at a fence table, his jaw set, his suit wrinkled. His lawyer whispered strategy, but his eyes darted nervously toward the cameras. He still had his arrogance, but now it was mixed with fear. Across the room, Serena sat with quiet dignity. A simple Navy dress. No makeup, no theatrics. She didn't need them. Her presence was enough. The prosecutor rose. A woman with sharp eyes and fire in her voice. This case is simple. A black woman, a veteran of the United States Navy, sat on a park bench. She was harassed. She was assaulted. She defended herself. And she was almost killed because a man with a badge believed her skin made her a criminal. This is not about disorder. This is about justice. The jury nodded. The gallery murmured. Then Kane's lawyer stood, smoothing his tie. This was a misunderstanding, a heated moment. My client, Sergeant Kane, has served the city for 20 years. He acted in good faith to protect the public. The so-called victim escalated. This is not a crime. It's chaos turned into spectacle. Gasps rippled. The lawyer ignored them, returning to his seat with a smug glance. The prosecutor wasted no time. Videos from phones, from news crews, From park security, Kane grabbing Serena. Serena breaking free. Kane shouting, "People like you don't belong." Serena standing tall, declaring her Navy service. The crowd chanting, Daniels confessing. Every second played on giant screens. Jurors leaned forward, jaws tight. The defense lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Kane's face turned red. The truth was undeniable. Officer Daniels was called to testify. He walked to the stand slowly, nerves etched in his face. "Tell us what happened," the prosecutor urged. Daniels swallowed hard. She was sitting there, just sitting. Sergeant Kane, he targeted her. He told us she didn't belong. He grabbed her first. She only defended herself. Why speak up now? Daniel's eyes flicked to Serena, then to the jury. Because silence is betrayal. And I won't betray the truth again. The courtroom gasped. Some clapped before the judge's gavel banged for silence. Kane glared daggers at him, but Daniels didn't look away. When Serena took the stand, the courtroom hushed. She spoke calmly, her voice carrying the weight of truth. "I went to the park that day for peace. But peace isn't given freely when your skin is black. I was harassed, cornered, and grabbed. I could have panicked. I could have fought recklessly. But my training taught me patience, discipline, and survival. So I stood tall, and I survived." She paused, looking directly at Kane. "But this isn't about me alone. This is about every name turned into a hashtag. Every person who didn't survive. I stood that day for them, too." Tears flowed in the gallery. Veterans saluted quietly from their seats. The jury's eyes softened. Her mind flickered to a Navy funeral. The folded flag pressed into her arms. The tears of a mother beside her. "We fight not for ourselves," her commander had once told her. "We fight for the ones beside us." That truth rang in her voice now. When Kane took the stand, his arrogance cracked. "They're lying," he barked. "She disrespected me. She resisted. She's dangerous." The prosecutor leaned in. "Dangerous or strong? She assaulted me." The video replayed on the screen. Kane grabbing first, Serena twisting free. The jury's eyes narrowed. "She's making me the villain." Kane shouted, his face red, spit flying. "You made yourself the villain," the prosecutor said coolly. Gasps rippled. Kane slammed his fist on the stand. "This whole thing is a witch hunt." The judge's gavel thundered. "Order! Order in the court!" But the damage was done. The jury saw not a protector, but a predator. Hours later, the jury returned. The room held its breath. On the charge of assault, guilty. On the charge of abuse of power, guilty. On the charge of hate crime, guilty. The courtroom erupted. Cheers. Tears. Applause. Kane slumped in his seat, his smirk gone forever. The bailiffs cuffed him as he shouted curses, but no one listened. All eyes turned to Serena. She didn't cheer. She didn't gloat. She simply closed her eyes, exhaling the weight she had carried for months. Justice. Finally, on the courthouse steps, reporters swarmed. Microphones thrust forward. "Miss Cole, how do you feel? What's your message to the city? Do you forgive him?" Serena stood tall, the sun catching her face. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying over the crowd. "This isn't just my victory. This is a victory for truth, for accountability, for every person who's ever been told they don't belong. Today proves something important. When we stand together, when we refuse to bow, hate cannot win." The crowd erupted in cheers. Veterans saluted. Children held signs high. The city, once trembling, stood tall with her. Serena glanced at the cameras one last time. Her eyes burned with quiet fire. "I fought for this country overseas. And today, I fought for it home. I'll keep fighting until no one has to anymore." She stepped down the courthouse steps, her shoulders straight, her spirit unbroken. And Atlanta knew this wasn't just one woman's story. It was a warning. It was a promise. It was history.